Hello. All right. Today we are going to talk about some fun things I want to share with you. Today's chart, and then we'll look at that a second, and then talk a little bit about what what transits, what progressed, how we can look at progressed, and then how we can use transits with them. So today, let's look at the chart. So again, this is the heavens. If we were to, there's this kind of an orbital belt, if you will, that the sun, the moon, planets all follow around, and you can definitely see it with the sun and moon. You can see where it rises on the east, and then it'll go at a certain arc overhead, and then it sets in the west. And
Carrie, I don't see your screen.
don't see the screen?
Just black.
Huh. All right. Thank you. Can you see it now?
Yep, that's better.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so what we see of this chart, or any chart, is the snapshot of that moment. And what we're looking at is this belt of planets that go around the whole globe. And I'm trying to give you both a 3D in your head and a 2D on paper of what we're looking at and what this is. So if you just think about the planets rise and set, you know, the sun rises at a certain place and then it sets at a certain place. And in the winter time, its arc going from, you know, rising up overhead to a certain mountain and setting is different than it is in the summer. If you notice, you start noticing now, because we're at the short, you know, just past the shortest day of the year, and you'll probably see the sun, if you looked due east, it would be rising more south. It would be, actually, it wouldn't be due east, it would be south of east. And then as we get on into the height of summer, the sun will track more north as it's rising. So you'll have to look more to the north when it's actually rising. So on the vernal equinox, it's almost due east when it comes up over the horizon. And then as it goes on to the longest day of the year, you know, at the 1st of June or 21st of June, it's the farthest north as it rises. So imagine now it's to the south and the east as it rises in the morning, and it does a smaller arc in the sky. And the more north you are, the more that arc is smaller. You know, your day is a lot shorter in Seattle than it is on Florida. You know, the arc is shorter. It's more in that southern area. And as we go on into the summer, that arc gets more overhead. We have that the sun is more directly overhead. So that is what happens every year. I mean, is the progression of that. And what we see of the chart, if we look on this far left-hand side, where it says number 1, that spoke, that is what's coming up over the horizon right now. And that's I just said it for Gainesville, Florida, because that's where I'm close to. So if we could see, like right now, the sun is, you know, you can see it's 4:15. It's, you know, it's still light out. So we would have a hard time seeing the actual constellation in the sky. But if we had a little app, you know, one of those star finders, whatever, you could then see the constellation of right now of Gemini, 19 degrees above the horizon. That's technically what that means. And then if we turned around and looked to the west, we would see the constellation of Sagittarius, 19 degrees below the horizon, setting. Now, in front of those, you see over here, while we're looking on the left-hand side in the 6th house, you see that the planet Mars is there. So Mars has just set, at least in Florida, you know, just because this is where we're at. So Mars just set, because we're on this time zone, just below the horizon. About an hour ago or 2 hours ago, whatever, it was just above that setting. And you can see the sun over here is in the 7th house right now. It's about to set. I told you, it's, you know, I just ran this at 4:15. It's 4:35 right now. And this is the setting sun. And you can see right now, hopefully that's just kind of like cool, like, whoa, aha, you know, we're right live time. It's 4:15 in the chart that she ran, and it's 4:36, and the sun is here in the 7th house about to set below the horizon. That's what this actually means. So I just did this chart at that time. You know, I could do it again right now. I can do it in a half hour. And as I keep doing it, we'll see the sun move lower and lower and lower. Actually, let me show you, because this is kind of cool to see this. I think this stuff is important to understand. Let me just set this for now. Just remember where it was. Let me put it for 5:15. All right, now look at that. You should be able to still see that. The sun is almost on the horizon line going down. That should just be cool. I mean, it's like, whoa. I don't know, I just kind of think that really solidifies what this stuff means. So look at what's behind it. Okay, as soon as the sun sets, then Mercury will set, then Venus will be in the sky. If you look out, you know, you'll see Venus about ready to set, and then Pluto will be above it, and then Saturn, you know, you may not be able to see that with the naked eye, you might, and then Jupiter above that, really bright in the sky at sunset. So, you know, we could run this at a different place and we can just see where it's at. Now let me just do that. Edit, let's change locations. All right, same time, 5:15 in Seattle. And look at the sun is there. It's darker earlier there. It's below the horizon now because your sun is, you know, at 5:15 for your time. So you're right back from me, but at 5:15, you know, the sun was just setting here because it's, you know, a little bit, I get more sunlight and then you don't, you know, people more north. So you can see that. Hopefully that's interesting, you know, and how
Oh
we
yeah, I
It
totally
helps a
never
lot.
knew that.
It helps a lot.
good, because I don't know if I'm drilling into something that needs to be, but to me that just makes a lot of sense with understanding 3D and 2D and what we're looking at. And you know, this is timing of stuff. This is just timing. So here now in Seattle, you can see, look at Mercury at 5:15. When you look out, you know, the sun will have already set. Down low on your horizon, if you can see it, you'll see a bright star. You know, we'll see it too when we right after sunset or right before sunset. You know, with us it's a little earlier. But the sun, but Mercury and then Venus are high in the sky. If you go look out to the west, you'll see those bright shining lights. And do that, you know, maybe when we get done, we'll probably be close. It'll be just after, actually be 5:30. So you should still see them. And then if you miss them, if they've already set, then tomorrow.
Actually, it'll be 2:30.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'm doing too many things. And then when your sun sets, you know, at 5:30, you'll see it there. There we go. Okay, too many timelines. So yeah, you'll see that at your sunset time, just past it. Your sun actually right before. It just depends on how clear your skies are, probably. Because when I did ours, you saw that it was a little bit above it, but then you can see it now. I don't know if we could see Pluto, but you can definitely see Venus. You know, and this time when it's retrograde, they call it, you know, you've got, and then this time in its orbit when it is ahead of the sun. All right, let me give you this one. It's ahead of the sun and it's now in its retrograde cycle. It is the evening star. So this is going to be interesting now. And then when it is in its direct, and then it is behind the sun, when the sun passes it, it will then be the morning star. And let me show you that. It's kind of interesting. Okay, so remember now, it's just went retrograde and here it's in Capricorn, right? It's in Capricorn and now we're in December. Let's go to view. I hope I didn't do anything weird. Okay, I want to go change this date. Let's go put it for, May 1st, 2022. I'll leave it at Seattle. Reading, yeah, that's fine. All right. Okay, so here, gotta go a little bit more. Where is it? I'm gonna go one more, bear with me. Let's go. So I'm trying to think, maybe about 6 months from now. Let's go September 1st. September 1st, 2022. All right. So let's look at, oh, I want to change time too. Hold on. Sorry. Let's do, what's that, 6:30 a.m. All right, let me see if I can get something here close. All right, here we go. In the morning, now it's about 6 months from now, the sun or Venus will be, see, we can go look over here on the eastern horizon. You'll see the sun is about to rise and Venus is already risen. It's ahead of the sun. Now, it's the morning star. Actually, we say it's risen ahead of the sun, plus it's the sign before the sun. Hope that makes sense. So Leo is before Virgo, right? So it's now, from where it's at now in Capricorn, it's like almost gone all the way around. It's retrograde now. And so it's going to finish retrograde, then it's going to go direct, and then it's going to go forward. So when it's all doing the slow thing, the sun will pass it. Okay. And then it moves on, and then the sun is, you can see here, is ahead of it in sign. It's past it. So Venus is now, we say it's behind the sun, and it's the morning star. So anyway, just kind of let that sink in of how it is. We can just think about it's rising now in the fall, and it's ahead of the sun, so that you'll probably have seen Venus or heard it as the morning star and the evening star. And this is why it's orbit. And you don't have to get it totally, but just it's basically is it goes ahead of the sun and behind the sun. Ahead of the sun and behind the sun is when it will become one or the other. So you don't have to think about too hard on it. I just kind of wanted to point that out because it's interesting, because it's a cycle. Things are cyclic. Okay, now these are cool transits. This is how this moves in the sky. Are you guys good with this? Do you have any questions on it? I don't want to get too.
No, but that helped explain a lot.
Okay, cool. Let's look at, again, now what a progressed chart is. And what you kind of do in a progressed chart, I don't say kind of do, it's an easy way to put it. We look at, it's difficult to explain, but I'm going to kind of do it in a baby way, and then I'll expound on it. We do things called a day for a year progression. And it would basically mean that we're going to look at each day ahead in the ephemeris, or just it's like where the planets were the next day after you were born. That would relate to the next year of life. And then the second day after you were born would relate to your second year of life. The third day, the third year, and so on and so forth. So we're kind of going, we're referencing this in position of the sun. So you can imagine that the outer planets, Pluto will probably not move very much in your lifetime. It's going to go very little. Now, when an outer planet does change sign or change a house in your case, or change direction, it's a significant year in the life of a person. The inner planets, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, change and move more quickly. So let me go to get an ephemeris and show you that, so you can know a little bit more about what I'm talking about. Wait a minute, let me load that in, and then I'll show you in the charts. All right, so this is today, or this is the month of, can you see this okay? Did this come up? And make sure it came up.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the ephemeris for December 2022. And what an ephemeris is, again, is a listing of all the planets in the skies. It's where they're at. We know where those constellations are. They're fixed. Those stars, like the Big Dipper, it's kind of like saying the sun's in the Big Dipper, but instead of being in the constellation of the Big Dipper, it's in Capricorn or Cancer or Leo or whatever. So the constellation is that area, and the planets move through it. But the stars are way further behind, and they're more fixed. They don't have quite the same velocity of movement. But we have to base things on something. So if we're looking at this, you'll see on day number 1, and you see the very first symbol, the circle with the dot is the sun. And then the next symbol is the moon, and the next symbol is Mercury, and then they all go out from the sun in the order they are from the sun. Then you see Mars, and then Jupiter, like the number 4, the little chair looking thing is Saturn, and then Uranus, and then the pitchfork over here is Neptune, and then Pluto, and then this over here is the North Node, the last thing. So we look at the sun, and you'll see the day 1 in the 1st of December, the sun is at 8 degrees Sagittarius, 45 minutes. And the next day, you'll see it's moved ahead a degree, 9:46. It's almost a full degree. It's like one minute less or more. Actually, it's 1:01. And then in different, anyway, so it's just about a degree a day. You'll see this, a degree in a minute. So that is the progression of that. So if somebody was born on December 1st, this first row is what what the first year of their life would be like. All right, now let's just say, look over here at say 18. Okay, so say by the time they're 18, they would be their 18th year, they would have, down on day 18, this is what would be going on. Now let's just go a little further. Actually, let's look at the 21st. Okay, so by the time this kid is 21, they're going on their 22nd year, 21st year on the 21st. Let's just look across, and we'll notice here in the Jupiter column, this one right here, the number 4, it changes signs. It goes into Aries. So we can say now that this person, when they're 20, they're 21, in their Jupiter in life, their Jupiter is going to progress from being into, they're born with it in Pisces. It's going to move into Aries. So they're probably going to get some Aries, Jupiter stuff. What's Jupiter in the chart? Jupiter is big. It's expansive. It's larger. And then Aries is pioneering ideas. They may get some big, huge, large idea that they'll maybe act on. That will be a memorable year. Maybe they'll get paid for something. Maybe they'll get their college or something. They'll get a promotion, a job, or something big like that will happen that year. And what we look for is the years that these change. Okay, so this Saturn's the same. You see, this is here 15. We keep going. So that one's significance. But let's just see if there's anything else on this month that changes. Let's just go. The sun. Well, let's see. The sun we know is going to change signs. On the 22nd. It goes into the next sign. So that would be significant too. So the year before he gets or she gets, this person, the Jupiter is going to change signs, and then the next year the sun is their sun sign will change signs. They'll go from being a Sagittarius to a progressed Capricorn. So they'll probably get much more serious. I would predict this is probably something about their first business. They probably route out of school, 2021, they get some business or promotion. They're going to go from being all, Sagittarian in pursuit of some goal to some more concrete Capricorn kind of a thing. So right around in that age, you can kind of see how some of the stuff goes. So these are progressed. We're progressing forward. We're looking at this, and we are looking at it for their life. Now you can notice the moon moves pretty quickly. It's like every 2 years or 2.5 years, the moon changes signs. So we every, so often we get a return of where the moon was when we were born. This person, we'd have to look when it's in Pisces. So that person would be 28, about the time of their Saturn return. Is in, look at right here it's in Pisces again. And then let's go on and see like 29. Let's look at their Saturn. They were born at 19. And then we'll have gone. Well, we can't tell it on this one. All right. Okay, so the moon, what else did I want to show you on this way? Then we'll go look into charts and it's easier. So this is just kind of the old way. You can look and see what's going on, but when you run the progression, it makes it much more easy to see, which I'm going to show you now in a minute. But this is what we look for. And what I look for is each year, one thing to the other. Like on this person, we would look at his year, when he turned 20, we would see that, 20, we would know that the Jupiter would be at the last of that sign. And we would know that the next year, the Jupiter is going to change. And then we would also see that the very next year, the sun would change because that's at 29 degrees. Now, let me show you another way to see that. Share a different one. Is that good? Do you have any questions on that while I get another chart back? Maybe, I know it's settling in. All right, let's look at, I wanted to look at Donald Trump. This is his natal chart. And what I want to show you, actually, let me see the progression. Well, let's look at it this way first. When he was born, the sun was 22 degrees Gemini, and that's 1946. So do my math. 21. He's what, 75? Okay, he's 75. So his sun, we can predict in 75 years, it would have moved 75 degrees. So we would know that it's going to move all the way through Cancer. So it would go, okay, so it'd be here, that's 30, and then all the way through Leo, it'll be there 30, and then another 15, so 22, 30, 2, so maybe like 7 or so degrees Virgo now. Let's just see if I'm close. If I did my math. 5 Virgo. Okay, so it's close. So you can kind of see where the sun is. So I'll do, let me look at both of these. All right. The inner wheel is his natal and the outer wheel is his progressed. So let's look at the inner wheel. And we'll go back to where the sun is. The sun is at 22 Gemini. And we did the math. We did it, we just added 75 degrees to 22. We know that it of course, it laps around. When it goes to 30, it goes back to 0. And, we had to do it astrologically. So we got to, like I just quickly did like 7 Virgo, but here it is at 5 Virgo. So he has a progressed sun of Virgo right now. He still has his Gemini nature. That's the imprint, that's the blueprint of this personality, but it has progressed because things keep moving. So he's much more nitpicky and exacting and analytical and sarcastic and but could also be tripped up by details too, with Virgo. So right there in the beginning. I'm not going to analyze it totally about that, but I just want to at least show you about how things progress. I don't want to get too sidetracked. It's easy here, but I do want to look at him with stuff after I show you this. So then let's go like, I don't want to go the moon because the moon is quick and it goes every 2.5 years. It changes signs. So it just goes round and round and round through your life. But let's look at the next planet out from the sun, and it's Mercury. And he was born with Mercury at 8 degrees Cancer. And we know Mercury floats around the sun. It's never more than 28 degrees one way or the other around the sun. Never goes further than that. And we see here, it's ahead of the sun. It's in the next sign. Okay, it's in the next sign from the sun. So we would expect that to be ahead in his chart. Now, if it were retrograde, it would have to do however far retrograde, and then it would have turned direct and went forward. So, and that could have happened in his life. We would have to look through that, we could actually look through the ephemeris and just look down. We would look at when we were born, 1946, August. So we would get the 1900s ephemeris and start looking in August, and you look down the Mercury chart, and then you find where it turns retrograde. And those would be actually 21 years because it's retrograde for 21 days. So that's, somewhere in your life, it will probably be that way. And it turns retrograde it's 3 times a year. So it's bound to happen, or it will happen. Nonetheless, it is now currently at 19 Leo. And the reason I say that, it's like, that's not that far away from Mercury, from where it was when he was born. So I would imagine he had a retrograde phase sometime in his life. So it was 21 years of some kind of, retrograde. Actually, I can probably find it if I keep talking and I'm not too boring. I can look real quick at 1946. I have an ephemeris here. I'll show you this one, the American ephemeris. This one is 1900 to 2000. And I'll just look. It's just interesting when you're onto it, you can just kind of track it down. I'll just look ahead and see, because this one, they're really cool. They just have them, they shaded, the column is shaded. Actually, this is really funny. He was born, was it the 12th? 14th. It just turned direct on the 12th, 2 days before he was born. So let's see if it goes retrograde in his life. His life. It wouldn't be till, no, I don't think it's, no. If I look right, no, it's not gonna go retrograde in his life. So that's interesting. So we got 1, 2, 30, 60. Yeah. Let's see, 90, maybe way late if he lives. It's like by maybe when he's in this advanced age, because it doesn't go turn retrograde until November 11th. So we would have to figure out how many days forward that is. But that's quite a bit more. That's just interesting. And this is good to see because you can look at things in your life. If you know certain things are going to happen, you can kind of plan accordingly for that. So anyway, I'm looking at Mercury. Mercury for him now has just gone into the next sign. It's just a little over 30 degrees away from where it was when he was born. It was just, I guess, slow then. Just gaining speed. Usually after it turns direct or retrograde, it's slow. So it was probably it takes a while to pick up speed. It could be there for like normally it would be weeks, but then those weeks would be years in life. It translates that way. All right, let's look at Venus here. So he was born, Venus was in Cancer. Look at all the stuff. He's got all the stuff in Cancer. Interesting. Mercury, Venus, and Saturn, all in Cancer. So there is some, there's family, there's home, there's nurturing, and it's just packaged in a certain type of shell. But those are those planets. They're in his 11th house of others. And then Venus here is really nice. And where is it now? Where is Venus now? It's over here in Libra. So we've got an air sign, cardinal air, and then we've got a cardinal water. So we could see, oh, we got a square. Oh, we got a Venus square happening. And we can see Venus here at 21. It's not quite close there, but Venus square, that's kind of interesting. Squares are always, challenge Venus's values. So this is kind of interesting now as this gets tighter, it gets closer, Venus progresses forward. Things that he valued or will be challenged, will be questioned, values, judgments, anything to do with value, that could be just money, funds, people, relationships, whatever valued is going into square. Kind of rough. And Jupiter, you can see his Jupiter is just also close to conjuncting Venus. So this is interesting though. With Jupiter there, it's like reshuffling the deck. It's reevaluating the values. It's I think it's good there with the natal Jupiter there. It helps buffer the harshness of maybe this Venus square. All right, I don't want to get into that totally, but that's just, you can't help but to see certain things are coming up, and this is how you look at things. Now, I don't want to analyze it totally, but I want to share with you some things. So what we're looking for is, where do I want to get it timing? Because he's progressing into this square, the current planets will come around and trigger certain things. So when he was born, it was here. Now it has progressed. Let's say Venus only. It has progressed to a square. So when he was born, it was like here. And then, when you get, things change angle size, because of its orbit as you move through life. So with him, this one is an inner one. Let me find an easy outer planet one to show you as well. So let's look at his Pluto. We'll notice that it probably hasn't moved very much. There it is, 10 degrees Leo. There we go. Yeah, it is 12 degrees Leo. So these outer planets, in his 75 years, or it would be in 75 days, if we look at it, that planet's not going to move that much. So here it's moved 2 degrees. Now let's pretend that unless I see something, let me look at Neptune. This one, to try to find something. Neptune is 5 and it's at 7. How about Uranus? 17, 21. So I'm trying to find something that's changed signs. An outer planet. All right, not in his case. Let's look at, we have time. Well, let me just finish this thought that I can show you somebody else. So let's just imagine that, well, here, let's look at Saturn. His Saturn was at 23 degrees when he was born in Cancer. And let's find it in here. It's come around. That's not what I want to share with you because it's confusing. Let's go back to Pluto. All right, Pluto here is at 10 degrees. Let's say somebody was born with Pluto at 29 degrees. And, you know, we know that, and it's direct. So we know that sometime soon it's going to go into the next sign. That would be a very interesting year for that person, that a slow moving planet would change signs, or it could change houses. You know, we could see here that the angles on houses, yeah, like here he's got his rising sign is 29 Leo. So Mars right here, you know, it's right there at 26 Leo. As it progresses forward, well, I mean, this is his natal, but I mean, it would go over that degree. Like we're seeing here, here's the sun, the progressed sun just goes over degrees. And I wish I had one I can actually show you. But anyway, you can get the idea that that would be an important year. Now, the transit could trigger something like that. Let's imagine again that this Pluto is at 29 degrees, doesn't matter what sign, let's say 29. And then you know that the next year, just say it's going to go into the next sign. There may be a traveling planet that would kind of stimulate that. It may be making maybe current Pluto, or maybe current Mars, or something may be making an angle to that spot. It might be making a square to it, might be making a trine to it. That would be sort of a trigger. Let me see if I can find something else here. Let's look at Bill Gates. I wanted to look at a villain. I hope Trump is not a villain. I don't get that. I think he's maybe arrogant, and he's been given a lot of bad intel, and he's stubborn and hasn't his head hasn't been pushed into the dog crap enough to see the light on certain things, like especially with this vaccine. That's kind of I was wondering about that, why he's being so stubborn with that. Maybe we'll get back to that. But anyway, here's Bill Gates chart. I remember looking at him before. Okay, he has this late Pluto. All right, so here's 28 degrees, and then let's see his secondary progression and where he is now. Let's look for Pluto. It's still 28 retrograded. Darn, none of these are going to show it to you. Yeah, the ones that I want. All right, that's okay. Well, let's just cover this one more time and then look at the transits. I changed the transits. I have to get a new transit base. Let me do that. Current transit chart. And let me get a bi wheel. Actually, try cancel. I'm going to give you one thing and hopefully I won't confuse you too much. Let's do Bill Gates natal, Bill Gates secondary, and transits in the outer ring. Oh, good. I've done the right way. So this is, I think you can see that pretty good. All right. The inner chart is the natal chart. This is what your givens are. Now, let's just kind of look at, let's not get confused. Let's just look over here at this Uranus. When he was born, Bill Gates, we have Uranus at 2 degrees in Leo. And currently, it hasn't moved that much. It's at 1 degree in its retrograde. 1 degree Leo. Now let's look at current. Oh, this is a good one. Current Uranus. I know it's in a fixed sign, so it's up here in the top of the chart. This is what's happening now. Current Uranus is 11 degrees Taurus. Now, Taurus is a fixed sign and Leo is a fixed sign, and I know that they're square apart because, you know, Taurus is in spring, and then several months later we get to Leo, which is the summer. So those are going to be square. The middle of spring and the middle of summer. Those are then that angle square. So it's at 11 degrees now. And when was it there? Maybe like 3 years ago. What is this, 2021? Yeah, 2021. Yeah, right, like 18 and 19, when he started to put his filthy fingers into this whole scamdemic thing, when he started getting in the limelight. And that's when his Uranus was right, squaring his natal. I mean, his, it was right there on his natal one, and then his progress one, right when it hit that 1 degree, it's probably when he started to get this evil plan started to come up, started to, that suddenly just came because of dealing with Uranus. So maybe that was kind of the trigger of this happening currently in that fixed sign. It's so the fixedness of it is kind of like what's grounding this big energies, bringing it down to earth, bringing it to a physical level, whatever this evil thing is. I mean, I'm just looking at the energies of something. We can go, I don't want to speculate on all that, but I'm just showing you the astrology of something, because we see that here, and it's in this chart. It's at that, it progressed to the 1 degree, and it's going retrograde. It's going to go into Cancer. This is going to get real watery with him. It's going back into that. That's where it's heading. And then it's being crossed, or it was being crossed by current Uranus. That was just one thing. Let's look more at his stuff inside here. I want to see something that might be changing with him. Trying to see if something has changed. Now, over here, his Saturn is about ready to change signs. And then we have, it's at 20, his current Saturn here is at 29. It's about ready to go into Sagittarius. So next year, he's going to have a Saturn change signs, because here's 29 this year. So, or this year, it'll probably change into that. This could be a Saturn changing signs. Saturn anything is always something to put an eyebrow up, like, and it's changing signs. So that's definitely some kind of a disciplinary, Saturn type things. What's the words I'm looking for? Structure, discipline, hopefully handcuffs, bars, something Saturnian, because it's changing signs. Anything changing signs is where you might have a tendency of things actually happening. Let's see what else is going on. So this is in his progress, right? So this is what's happening now. And then we would look at current triggers. And then right now, this is interesting here. The moon nodes are right over his progressed Saturn. So this is interesting. And then down here, the south node is at 29. It's just moving into this. This is the kind of the average of it, but this is influx like for the next few months. So the south node is where you have to pay back karma, where you have to let go of things. And his progressed Saturn is right there. So this might be a time where he gets some reckoning. It's always an exit point. Saturn is never a fun, happy thing. At best, it's like, I'm glad I studied piano, but you didn't really like it when you were studying, kind of thing. And then, being here in Scorpio, that's some, at the nth degree of that. So that might not be a real nice, this is the timing of it. This is maybe where he gets caught, where he gets hung, he gets persecuted, he gets stopped, he gets stomped, he gets walloped. Just astrologically, I'll just throw that out there right now. And the closer that gets on that, stepping right on that, we're probably going to see that. I'm glad I did this chart there. I was wondering about that. All right, well, this is a good one. This was a good one. I was hoping that I could find something progressing. See, when he was born, is 21 Scorpio, and by his age now, he's what, 50s, 60, whatever it is. It's progressed to that 29 degrees, almost at the end of the sign, going to change signs. And there's always things happen when something changes signs or houses. So it's changing signs this year. And the moon nodes just went out of Sagittarius and Gemini. They just moved it, or just moving into the Taurus and Scorpio axis, and it is right on his Saturn. So it's just going to get, I think it's going to go from bad to worse with him, because that's just going to go further into that sign. And that's going to go over, it's going to go over his Mars. Over here, it's not going to be nicer as that goes backward. It's going to go over his progressed Mars. So Saturn and Mars, both of those malefics are close to him. So he's probably going to get some reckoning. Interesting that he, let's see, natally, let's see how far they are apart. Natally, they're kind of far apart. So if we look back at his natal chart, we see Mars over here in Libra, and his Saturn in Scorpio. So it's progressed. His Mars has progressed from Libra over here into Scorpio. So Mars and Scorpio, that's, it likes to be there. It's its home on one level. It's the ancient, ruler there. But it's kind of like it's energy to be, it could be dicey and could be unscrupulous, and energy to embrace the dark side, and that Mars energy with all the Scorpio stuff. it's definitely putting energy to behind it. Now, not that Scorpio is bad, it's just undercurrent, and it's deep and it's mysterious and it's hidden, and it could be piercing, and we're talking about he's the developer. What's a software developer doing? Developing vaccinations. Well, there's Mars in Scorpio, and look, it's now, it's progressed to 23 degrees. So for a while he's been into this. That's probably why. Exactly. And then it's in his 5th house of creation. So there it is. He's created that. That's his baby. It's one of his creations. Creating this vaccine. And look at that. It's right over his natal Venus. I mean, it's just passing it. So he's like, and look at Venus in Scorpio. It just went over that 20 degrees because Mars is now at 23. So it just went over that. So this was his heyday the last couple of years. He can see his creation going to fruition, but not so fast. Not so fast. We don't see this North Node here about to bring down ruin. All right, I think I'm going to stop with that. I think that's a good stopping point. You can just get into one thing, but as you see, you can look at something and how it uncovers, and then I want to look at what's happening now as a trigger to something. So we see where the birth date, again, I'll just kind of recap. We see where the birth data is all about. You got to understand that starting point. And then we just start looking for how the planets are moving. They move, they have, the cyclic movements. They'll move apart from where it was at birth, like Saturn. Saturn takes 29 years. Every 29 years, it goes all the way around. It's back to where it was. So, every 7.25 years, you're going to have a shit aspect from Saturn to natal Saturn in your chart, and then maybe other things. But, at 7.5 year, you get the first square at like 14.5 or 15, you get the opposition. And then like 21, you get the third or the second square. It's 3/4 of the way around squaring. And then you get, at 29, you get the conjunction, and then it starts again, like 35 and 42 and whatever it is. My math goes after a while, but you get my point. So you get these things, and then you get your own givens of where stuff was when it first started. And we see where it goes, how many years does it take to move into something else, the next sign, or if it goes retrograde, something will have gone retrograde. That's be a significant year. I know several years ago, my natal Venus went retrograde. So I got much more inward about things I needed to work on with myself, with my own spiritual growth, and making sure that I was doing things for myself. But it was like, there was a couple of events that went on it that just brought it to my attention, to my face. It was really very interesting, kind of like a slap in the face. It was a rude awakening, having Venus turn around. You get to look at yourself, totally not looking at others, make yourself happy more and do for yourself, not just always outward. But it was a definite, it turned around really quick, and it's sudden, and you react and you have to deal with it. So there were different triggers in my life that activated it. And it was like the day that it happened, there was some events flew off that were just really memorable. So these things happen, and we use the current transits to see kind of, what day in this cycle things are. I mean, it's nice enough to know that it's gonna be happening. Yeah, Bill, you're gonna have this shit year, that's gonna have happening. But we can really hone in, we can, you know, we can get exact, and I can give you some exact time slots and dates, but I think you get the gist of this. So I wanted to just bring this out and show you how to look at this, so you don't see this as astrobabble. You're going in looking for certain things. You know, you're looking at certain planets, and then you're looking at, you know, seeing things change. You're looking at degrees, and then, you know, you just keep kind of moving further back. All right. A good bit. I hope that that hit home, and then I hope a little bit about bringing it into what we're looking at from astronomy and astrology and how you can look out. So remember, it's now Florida time, almost sunset. In a few hours in Seattle, it'll be sunset. So go look west and go look at the setting stars. Well, now the Venus will be our setting star, and at the beginning of fall, end of summer 2022, it'll be the morning star. Now it's the evening star. All right. Happy,
Thanks.
happy astrology looking and stargazing, sky watching. See you next time.